Well, here we go again with the El Conejo. Come on, El Conejo series. I've missed a couple of days of filming because one day I forgot my camera, and then yesterday I come over and the battery was, I thought it was dead, but just the battery had fallen out of the thing. So again, my deal with electronics. So El Conejo here, these little short sessions, like I stop in and catch him and rub on him a little bit, and I'm not sure that might not be, I'm not sure that's the best deal, because I think you need to work at this guy long enough to where he goes through a change. Now he uses this round bale feeder, prefer round bale feeder, to sneak around me here, but I'll just sort him out and hello there, Ronnie. I'll get him caught, maybe not. But so quite a few thoughts and comments on working with him, and Mark said to find those spots, and that's what horsemanship is I appreciate it. It's about finding those spots that get a horse to relax. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And that switching hands and those things. Here's my way of looking at dealing with animals. And I've talked about this a lot, but an animal's are either on the thinking side of their brain or the reacting side of their brain. And a horse like this, the reacting side of his brain is right on the edge all the time when the human's around. When he's with his buddies over there, he's as on the thinking side of his brain as good as anybody. So that's what we're trying to do, finding those spots, is how do you keep him on the thinking side of his brain? And Mark talked about getting the horse to lick and chew and work his mouth. I was doing a demonstration one time in Florida, and Ray Hunt was there, and a guy that was good friends and traveled Ray a lot and treated him real good was Bill Muncaster. And Bill came and watched my demonstration, and I said that I'd like to start a colt without him working his mouth, having to work his mouth. And he got real offended about that. He said, I don't get that stuff. And I said, well, if I can get handy enough to start a colt, get him caught, saddled, and rode without him ever getting troubled, and get him to do all those things without ever getting bothered enough where he had to work his mouth, then I'd really be knowing that line between thinking and reacting. Because when they change from thinking to reacting, when they change back to thinking, that's when you get that relaxation in their guts, and it comes right out through their mouth, and they work their mouth. So that's what that's kind of how I try to do that. Now, I like it when a horse like this works his mouth and relaxes, but I really try to stay away from getting him too bothered. Now, another approach, and here's what I had to do with the horse I had, Jackson. I gave him to Ryle, but some of you have seen him. He was a stampeder. And when he'd stampede, I tried to do all the soft, easy, nice stuff, and that just never changed him. And so then when he'd get scared, I'd get a hold of him and I'd put it to him. I mean, I'd work my legs a lot, work my hands, and do things that would make him stampede. He'd already stampeded, and then he would get real scared and real troubled. And as soon as he started coming back, it might take 5 minutes of me flailing on him and not kicking him and hurting him, and just move my arms and flapping around, and then as soon as he started to come back, I would relax. And boy, that changed him quicker than anything I did. So you can do all this kind, nice stuff, and sometimes you got to just go to it. And but with this horse, I don't think we have to do that. But so real nice this morning. I worked with him for an hour yesterday, getting his feet where I could get down his legs, and and doing things, and just, this is real nice. So I'm real happy this morning. Now he might work his mouth right here. We'll see. We'll see if that right ear comes forward. Now watch his left ear. Those ears are almost as good as working their mouth. You watch that left ear. Now there, see, that was real good. So that's nice. When he brings his ears towards me, that's hooking on, or bringing his mind to me, and he's forgot about thinking about everything around him, and he's focused on me. So I know people like to see a horse work his mouth, but before that, now let's see what happens with his mouth. Nothing. Maybe he's not that troubled. Good, but I watch those ears. There. Good, because remember, now, some of you folks might not know, but I made my living for 15, 20 years. This is back before the colt starting competitions. Made my living starting colts in 2-hour demonstrations. And for a while there was just me. Well, it wasn't me first. Craig Cameron really did a lot of them. Chris Cox did a lot of them. Public demonstrations of colt starting. Richard Schrey could do some. And Perino was a big supporter and sponsor of those. And then Brian Newbert was the Mustang guy. He did a lot of Mustang demonstrations, and I'm not sure he wrote them all the time, but he sure did a lot, and he wrote a lot of them. So anyway, those were really popular in the day, and I come along, and after the Horse Whisperer, they really got popular, and I really got busy. And so I spent a good 10, 15 years. I'd come to a town, and my kids and everybody, we were kind of, that was a big family deal. Perina had a truck and a trailer for us, and so anyway, and then Prefer did a lot of them. But I would so I would go, and they'd bring a colt. Sometimes it'd be a colt like this. Sometimes it'd be a colt that was dead gentle, and had a few Mustangs, lots of different stuff, a couple of mules. So it was real interesting. And the thing you got to do there is you got 2 hours or hour and a half, sometimes just an hour, whatever it was, at horse fairs and things. And so you had to get a lot done in quite a short time. And I saw a horse like this, and you get a lot of them like this. You gotta, I call it kind of put the sale barn start on them. And you got to get by it and get things done. And so that's how I learned to do her, get her done where you could get her done in a couple hours. I'm just working on some dogs here too. But so that was a real great way. But what it's done is made me where I'm in a hurry all the time. And Monster, get out of there. Out, dogs. Everybody out. And this is good. I'll just teach these dogs about out. Get out. 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 And that helps later when they get to the cow herd. They'll learn to get out. Anyway, so all these colt starting deals I kind of got. So now I'm trying to say, well, I got to just change my attitude here and do things a little different. So I'm having fun doing. I can get her by. I can get him saddled. And one day Ryle and I we had a real snorty colt, and I'd saddled him a few times, and then Ryle was going to take over and work him, and I was working some other colts, and he he couldn't get him saddled. He kept jumping out from under his saddle, and I was watching him, and he blamed me because I flagged the horse and caused his horse to spook, and so he said, well, why don't you saddle him then? And I walked over and I saddled him right up. And the big thing was, when you're saddling a horse like that has a lot of forward go, like this horse, and what I learned is you just got to move forward quite a bit. And the way you saddle a horse, if you saddle from right here, and you can get your hand, this is all stuff helping this horse. You can get your hand here and learn how to throw that saddle up here. You're out in front of the balance point. You keep their head to you with your halter rope here, and it keeps their front feet still, and they can't move off. And just that little change, what he was doing, he was on the other side. He had his, or either side, and he had to get back here to put his saddle over. He had to come back here to put his saddle over, and you can see already this horse, he's got the chance to leave if he needs to here. because I'm way behind the balance point. And there he finally worked his mouth, but he's scared. So that's how but here I'm just, and it's too slick to do anything. That round pen right there is so slick I can't even work him in it. That's why I'm in this little pen here. So anyway, just to spend a little time, I'll tell you a story. One of my colt starting, I have lots of good colt starting stories, but I was in East Texas, and everybody thinks West Texas is pretty brushy and ranchy. Well, you go to East Texas, there's some pretty brushy folks and some pretty good cowboys and some pretty snorty stuff. And so I was going to Crockett, Texas, and I was going to do a demonstration. I had a big Purina trailer and everything, and Ryle and Mesa and Tammy, we were all doing the homeschool thing, and so we're going to Crockett, Texas, and I'd been there before, and several years before. So we're heading there, and I get a call, well, we get there and pull up, and I see this big old long pipe trailer, canvas top, backed up to the round pen. And so I get out of the truck, and here comes the guy that's putting the Purina dealer. He says, I don't know, this guy, we've got this colt to start, but this guy pulled in here and he's got his trailer backed up to the round pen, and he said you're going to start his colt. I said, well, let's start them both. So this is a long time ago, and I'd ride anything and work as long as I wanted. So this guy, there's this horse in this big trailer,